My name's Armistead Neely, and I'm a Southern boy at heart. I was born in Mobile, Alabama, and my family moved down to Tampa, Florida when I was about 7. I began tennis in Tampa, Florida, and was lucky enough to be taken by my mother and dropped at the Davis Island Tennis Club, a very storied event. They held tournaments for Ellsworth Vines and Don Budge in the 1930s and 40s, so I was lucky to land at a very active club and learn my tennis from Calhoun Dixon, who started me out, and he was the guy who charged the princely sum of 50 cents a year for 3 hours a week and 1 hour on the weekend, and he started literally thousands of juniors. And then once you got past his program a little bit, the touring pro was Vernon Markham, who was a compatriot of Don Budge. And so I was lucky enough to have very fine training at this public center. I went to the University of Florida. I was an All-American there for a couple of years, won the SEC a couple of times, and singles and doubles. And I guess my proudest achievement there was that I was undefeated in all my SEC dual matches in 4 years. I lost a total of 4 dual matches in 4 years, and I'm proud of that accomplishment. After school, I majored in literature, and I thought I would like to attend law school, but the draft was on. So I went into the Army, and Uncle Sam had me for about a year and a half, and I was in the reserves. So they let me out, and I decided I was tired of taking orders, and I wanted to play the Pro Tour. So we went on tour, and I played the Pro Tour for about 8 years and had success enough to make a living. Wasn't much of a living in those days, or wasn't much money in tennis, but we had a wonderful time. It was a chance to travel the world and see unbelievable places, and I was able to play the majors in, of course, the US Open about a dozen times, and Wimbledon a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, and the French, and all over Europe, South America, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, the Far East. It was quite a gig. I had a great time. During those years, one thing I was also very proud of is Larry Turville and I co-founded the World Association of Tennis Champions. This was something we thought was needed. It was the ability to play second-tier events and get or garner ATP points. It was the first of its kind, and as we did this for about 7 years, I did it for about 4, and Larry did it for 7. We finally ended up with 8 tournaments at $10,000 apiece, free housing, clinics for men, women, and children, and a pro-am every week that was obligatory to the players. And it was a feed-in to the other events since we were able to get ATP points. And this was supported by Jack Kramer and Gladys Hellman and a guy named Bill Reardon. So we worked on that. We never got paid, but we just enjoyed doing it. And in the end, we had about 300 players worldwide from 40 countries. So those were the things I guess I'm most proud of. I was able to win enough to, as I said, make a living. But in the end, I needed to get off the tour at age 30 and took a job at the University of Alabama as their head tennis coach and director of tennis. And I did that for 5 years. We were able to end up in the top 20 a couple of times. And it was a great experience working with young, very talented men. And so I moved to Atlanta in 1981. I ran some country clubs, Country Club of the South in North Atlanta, and helped run the Olympic Center in 1997, and just enjoyed playing the game. And finally, of course, as you reach 30, you end up in the senior play, and I've had a fairly successful run at that over the last 35 years. I've been on national teams representing the United States in the World Team Championships. We've been able to win it 6 times, and I think my record is in the neighborhood of 60-4. So pretty good success, but most of all, I've made great friends from around the world. I'm still able to see them when we travel overseas. I still love to play, and of course the game is, as they say, the game of a lifetime.